Well, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. Today we have another viewer's vehicle in the shop. Jim from Western Pennsylvania has brought us his absolutely stunning 1967 Firebird that he has been building over the last couple of years, and it needs some suspension and alignment work, and he happens to know a guy. So he emailed me about a week or two ago saying, hey, I've got a bunch of stuff. It's a brand new build. I need somebody to take care of it. I've been watching your stuff online. You actually caught a couple of my brother's vehicles at the Pontiac Nationals video, and I'd really love for you guys to do what you do on my car. So he's bringing us this awesome Pontiac Firebird to get all dialed in. So, if you're interested, stay tuned. I promise this will be good.
Is a superior build quality. Well, now, if you're gonna put an LS in a Pontiac, at least you painted it blue.
But wait, there's more.
Well, I got a baseline put down. I'm starting to mess with the bump steer a little bit. I'm probably going to run out of bolt, but I'm really close. I'm within a ½ degree toe out on lift. Basically, you don't want any toe out on lift. You want it. You don't care if it goes toe in, but if it toes out, it'll hunt for guardrails. So I'm trying to get my bump steer as close to zero as possible on lift, all the way through the range, and then I'll worry about making everything else work. So this car has a bunch of tubing work done to it by Cage Rage out in Pennsylvania. Amazing tubing work. This car is next level as far as fabrication is concerned on this thing. He did a beautiful job on this thing. I have a little bit of a complication getting my bump steer where I want it to be. There's so much action in this suspension system that it actually, the toe actually sweeps out and then it sweeps back in. I have to find the happy medium of the parallels for the lower control arm travel and the inner tie rod end travel. So I'm going to keep playing with my bump steer a little bit more and try to get it exactly where it needs to be, because that's what needs to happen. So I'm really close. I was under, what, 3 degrees? I started out over 3 degrees of toe out. I'm down to about 1.5 degrees of toe out, somewhere in the range. The problem is it depends on the range, and depending on where the car sits, it changes because there's so much action in this suspension. So anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll keep playing with it. This thing ought to handle very well down a straight line for sure. Let's keep whittling away at it. They dropped the radiator to help keep the weight low.
I see that.
All aluminum, modular turbo 400 with a gear bender's overdrive. LS with twin turbos up front. Breathing right out of the front grill. This is like a fresh build. This was his COVID project.
So he did a hell of a job.
Sat around during COVID and built this. So right now, well, so that's the thing I'm running into is where is this car going to actually ride? Because if I pull it down, it's pulled down right now, right? So it settles right about there. So I'll set my toe there. I just made some adjustments to the bump steer, so it's off. But watch what camber does and watch what toe does when I lift it. So camber went positive and then back negative. It went all the way through, cambered out, and then cambered back in as it came back down. So the arms are so high, as it lifts, the camber goes out, and then it passes the high point, and then it cambers back in on the other side. Mm-hmm. And it sits so low that it's creating a problem to overcome that. If you watch the bump steer, the toe does the same thing. It cambers through. Well, the problem we're running into here is we're trying to set it up for street strip, and more street, because he's talking about doing actual like drive and drag. Mm-hmm. So it's like 1,000 miles of driving and a couple trips down the track. So and he's on littles, so I don't know. I was trying to set it up with like a 1/2 degree negative camber, but the action in this thing, I may have to set it up 0 and then just let it droop to where it droops.
Hey, you're the fucking master
Well,
mechanic.
if I set it up at 0 and it droops, the problem is even if I set it at 0, because of its point, it's going to go positive camber and then negative camber, so it's still going to have a weird sweep to overcome. We may just have to set it up as a preliminary, get him, because he's got sensors, and we can figure out what his natural height is for when it's actually being driven, and I can set it up with that ride height.
But you don't know.
But I don't know what that is yet. So
this is just like
I'll throw a wild ass guess at it.
this is. I guess this is what you call default.
Well, this is a baseline setup. I've got body weight in the driver's seat. I'll set the cowl tracks, to a 0 slot plus a 1/2 turn, just to put a little tension on them. And we'll set up the front dead even on caster camber and toe, and then we'll figure out what it does through tire wear and sensors, and then we'll make adjustments from there. And that's the thing about race cars; everyone's different. The fat work on this thing's amazing. Oh, it's gorgeous. Like the pie work in the exhaust pipes is amazing. Somebody really spends a lot of time tigging.
Practice makes perfect, man. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
If you're doing it all day, every day,
I don't do it all day, every
a little bit of
day.
this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, you're all over the fucking place.
And the range on this thing is crazy. I went from too far on my bump steer kit. Maybe that's causing me headaches. Let's take some of that back out and see. I think that's where we're going to leave it. My toe out on lift is pretty solid. It's still a little erratic. I'm going to go ahead and square up my caster and camber a little bit better now that I've got a baseline for my bump steer kit. That looks like where I'm going to leave my toe for a natural place. So I've been fiddling around with this thing and I came to the realization that the front shocks are basically right where it's sitting right now. The front shocks are at their down limit of travel, which means driving this thing around on the road, it's just going to beat the shocks into themselves and they're probably going to break apart and fail. So I'm going to recommend the customer put a stiffer rate spring in to get his natural ride height at least 2 inches higher in the front, which will give me a more stable ability to get a stable toe, because every time I raise or lower this car, my toe changes in or out depending on where the car's sitting. It's just the suspension's so soft and it has so much action that it just can't make up its mind where it wants to reside. The amount of down travel this thing has is amazing, but for a drag and drive car, it's not feasible to have your car sitting at the one end limit of your shock. For a straight line drag car, that's fine because you're not going to be driving around down bumpy pothole roads. The front end of this car will beat itself to death if it's left like this for actual drag drive, for actual, road car stuff. So I'm going to talk to the customer about that. I've got a lot of things dialed in. I've got my camber and caster almost perfect, and those, they might change a little bit, but it'll be even changes if he chooses to bring it back for me to do another tune-up on the alignment after he gets his ride height remedied. So, do a couple more things and we'll get this thing pulled out of here and move on to the next job. Oh, I'm within 1/10 on my camber. That's pretty good. We're going to get hammered on the copyright infringements for music today. Ooh, I'm within 1/10 on my caster. I'm within 1/10 on my camber. I'm going to log it all down. I think we're going to let it roll just like that. There's a lot of movement in this car, and the front ride height definitely needs to be resolved. But this should at least be drivable. I'm real happy with that. Verify my rack is still square. Lock down our arms and our cowl tracks. Yet another beautiful car going onto the streets. He's got some tuning and he needs to get a little bit stiffer spring up front. And we'll reset the toe, and this thing should be ready to hit the streets. This thing is amazing. I'll walk you underneath the car because it's a work of art. Hats off to those who have had their hands in putting this one together. Well, this wraps up my session with this gorgeous 1967 Firebird, LSX powered, twin turbos, turbo 400, gear vendors overdrive. Basically owner built car. He had a fella paint it, and he had a bunch of help from the guys at Cage Rage in Pennsylvania. They did all of his tubing work. And Smith Racecraft for the front chassis and front suspension system. Very nice, very, very nice car. Beautiful work, great fab work. He did some really cool stuff on the fuel system and back, which I don't have time to show you today, but maybe that'll come to light in another video someday. But gorgeous build. He's probably gonna have to put heavier springs up front to do what he wants to do with it. But as it sits, it's perfect for straight line drag. So hopefully he's going to go get it tuned, get it running right, and then he's going to go play. So look forward to seeing this thing out on the track or on the streets. Thanks for coming along for the ride on this one. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. We'll see you soon. So the car is only running on 4 cylinders. It's got a dead bank. He's got a little tuning issue to resolve. It's a work in progress. He's actually on his way to the tuner next to do a hub dyno tune on the thing so that it has a proper tune in it. So looking forward to seeing that car on the road. It's a beautiful build, very well thought out. He says he overthought it. I like it just the way it is. At any rate, have a good one, guys.